Kia ora, I'm Louis Delator, live from the Christ College Newsroom. Over the past 5 weeks, I've been investigating Tennis New Zealand and what pathways they have in place for young players that are looking to pursue a career or move forward in the sport. I've interviewed high-performance coach Jack Tiller, who has coached Canterbury teams, as well as coached on New Zealand team trips around the world to get some insight on what sort of coaching and training pathways that Tennis New Zealand has in place. In New Zealand, tennis is often overlooked. This is because of the popularity of other sports in New Zealand, such as rugby, rowing and cricket. Despite this, tennis is actually the second most popular sport for adults, with 300,000 people playing it in the country. Because of this, you would think New Zealand would be good professionally. However, New Zealand has only had one female player, Marina Irakovic, inside the top 100 singles player in the world in the last 25 years, and there have been no male players inside the top 100 singles players this century. The last male to do it was Brett Steven, who dropped out of the top 100 in February 1999. The male with the highest current ranking is Ajit Rai, who is ranked 246 in the world, and the highest ranked female is Monique Barry, who is ranked 672. So why is this? It is in part due to the fact that tennis is nowhere near as popular with youth. Although it is second in popularity for adults, it is barely in the top 10 for young people. Is this because of what Tennis New Zealand does for its young people? I spoke to Jack Tiller, a high-performance coach in Canterbury, to get his thoughts on what Tennis New Zealand is doing for its young players. When asked about what TNZ does to get their young players involved at a high level of training and match play, Tiller had this to say.
TNZ, you've got your regional development programs that are in Canterbury, Wellington, currently I think, and Auckland has that national program as well. So that's getting players in front of, or getting those top players together more often to ensure that they're getting that right level of competing in-house in New Zealand first, and getting them in front of performance coaches for this level in front of them more often. And in terms of going away and whatnot, is TNZ obviously pretty keen to try and get athletes to be overseas, obviously test themselves against Australia as much as possible, get over to Europe and experience some clay court stuff. Obviously battles happen. It's like anything in New Zealand. Like New Zealand's a small country. Anything to do with tennis, you've got to try at that level. You've got to try to outsource a wee bit. A bit like I guess like we're a very small country compared, so you've got to be really good at getting a whole bunch of stuff together to help kids get over there and compete and test out international kind of play and tournament play as well.
And then in terms of what Tennis New Zealand does for its players who are looking to pursue a career or move forward with tennis, do you think Tennis New Zealand does enough for young players in that regard?
Yeah, 100%. Like, there's obviously a couple of national coaches in there that I know are always open to conversations from any player, and that's the perks of being in a small country. They know probably all of the players and trying to get a conversation together in terms of what next goals could be for people. They're always open to, and helping with getting them set up for that, and even when they're at college, and kind of that's Tennis New Zealand's possibly their role, almost kind of often takes a back step at that time. An example at the moment is Matt Alexander's over in the States at the moment helping college players that are in their own program, but bringing all the Kiwi players together and going off and playing some futures events and whatnot to make sure that there's still that Kiwi camaraderie around as well, which is cool.
One major thing that has been introduced to TNZ in the last few years has been the Levy Tennis Academy. Founded by Sebastian Levy in 2019, the Levy Tennis Academy was started to provide a coaching program for young tennis players that operates at a high world-class standard, which is something that New Zealand has previously lacked. Based in Auckland, the Tennis Academy has certainly done good things for some young players in New Zealand. However, seeing as it's only based in Auckland, there's been some controversy surrounding whether or not it is a good program for Tennis New Zealand as a whole. This is because, as it is only based in New Zealand, young tennis players from all around the country have started moving to Auckland to be a part of this academy. Just this year, two of the best young players from Canterbury, Jack Hansenredder and Alvin Nah, have moved to Auckland to be a part of this academy. Opinions are divided on whether or not players like these two moving is a good thing, so I asked Jack for his opinion on it and the Levy Academy as a whole.
I think Hansenredder and Alvin Nah going up to Auckland is a real showing of what Canterbury Tennis and their private coaches too, and also that regional program he's had in terms of influence on those players, and credit to them for going up there and giving it a go. I think that shows that probably the regional stuff going on in Canterbury is that pathway is there, and there's opportunity to make that happen. Levy's a strong academy, and they've obviously got a good pathway going themselves with it, and it's an academy like that in Auckland, there's for sure a population there to be able to make that run in a healthy way as well.
Some people have said that because of Levy's success, there needs to be either an extension of the Levy Academy somewhere else in the country, or an entirely new academy. Attila thinks this is a good idea, and that Christchurch could be the perfect place for it.
I think that there's definitely opportunity for that. I think South Island is a perfect example. There's a lot of players that are at that level that Levy Academy players up to already here in Christchurch, where they probably are missing out on that. It's called a daily training environment. I think there's definitely room to probably add something like a Levy that's in the South Island. I think Christchurch is probably the main area in the South Island to have that happen. I'm not sure whether anybody's probably thought about it yet, or whether there's anything in the pipeline. I'm not sure whether there's opportunity for that, to be honest, but Christchurch would make a hell of a lot of sense.
So, does TNZ do enough for its young players? Through my research and interview with Jack Tiller, it has become obvious that there are some fantastic things Tennis New Zealand are doing right now. From smaller things like getting top-level players in all regions training and playing together, all the way to having players combining in colleges in the US, as well as the always growing Levy Tennis Academy. Jack Tiller had a lot of positive things to say about the way TNZ runs, but it is clear there are some things that can be done to take it to the next level. He thinks that with the level of young players all around the country, there is room to expand on what the Levy Academy is doing so well. It could certainly be a good step towards improving Tennis New Zealand and bringing more young players through at a higher level.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Miller Hite and I'm in the 2024 Christ College Newsroom. I interviewed two people and got two different perspectives from an older person's point of view and a younger person's point of view about if there's any truth about farming being good or bad for an environment.
Good morning, this is Miller Hite from the Newsroom. Today I interviewed a Year 11 from Christ College, Angus Cochin, and a former farmer, Alistair Hite. Here's what they have to say. What do you think about farming?
I think it's very necessary for the survival of Earth.
Do we need farmers?
100%, absolutely. Robots can't do it.
Do farmers get paid enough?
Not all farmers get paid enough for the amount of work they do, no.
Would you say farmers get blamed for everything that happens to the Earth?
Wouldn't say they get blamed for everything, but they do get blamed for quite a bit. Like in COVID, with the gas, our CO2 levels went down lots. And the cows were still shitting, but the cars weren't driving, so yeah.
Now we're here with Alistair Hite. What do you think about farming?
Farming is a lifestyle, plus it's a necessity for people's survival. Farming is getting harder these days with all the governance coming in, but still it's a good life.
Do we need farmers?
We need farmers because people need protein and fruit and veg, and if we didn't have that, no one would be surviving very well.
Do farmers get paid enough?
Farming, not really. You do not get paid enough nowadays, as every bill I get is getting more expensive, and I'm getting less for my produce at the end, which is not weighing up very well at the moment.
Would you say farmers got blamed for everything that happened to the earth?
Some places, yes, they are blaming the farmer for a lot of global warming and that, but a lot of other businesses are putting out more emissions than what farmers do, and they are not planting trees or having grass to eat up the carbon like a farmer does.
From the two people I interviewed, it seems we do need farmers in that they are a big chunk to our lives, producing food for us to eat. Thank you for listening, and make sure to come back next time. Miller Height signing out.
My name is Freddie Hasty from Christ College Newsroom. I've been interviewing a few people on the controversial poison 1080. I found out a lot about the 1080 over the past 5 weeks of investigation, and today I'd like to share with you what I've uncovered.
1080 is a controversial pesticide used to control pests like possums and rats that threaten native wildlife in New Zealand. Some people worry it harms their environment, but the government says it's needed to protect endangered species. The debate over 1080 has been going on for ages and doesn't seem to be ending soon because of the massive ups and downs of the poison. I'll be interviewing some people and showing you their thoughts on the poison and let you know about it more deeply. Some of the questions I asked was, what impact does 1080 have on New Zealand's wildlife? What are your thoughts on the downsides of 1080? And does it balance out with the good side? And why do we use 1080 in New Zealand? For the question, why do we use 1080? This is one of the responses I got.
New Zealand uses 1080, I think, due to the nature of our terrain, that the target pests, possums, rabbits, rats, mice live in. Unfortunately, our forests and mountains are great breeding grounds for these pests, but make ground-based control virtually impossible. 1080 is the only product that can be used by air, so reaching those hard-to-control areas can only be done this way. Without it, we would never get on top of any of these pests.
Here is another reason, another person I've interviewed on why 1080 is used in New Zealand.
Yeah, so my thoughts on 1080, obviously the primary reason, well the only reason really that we use it is to control various pests throughout our backcountry, I suppose, rats, stoats, possums and the likes, and I guess, and we're trying to control those for the purposes of, you know, looking after not only our native species, birds, etc., but also particularly the possums and things, I suppose, when it comes to the flora and fauna and things as well. So yeah, I guess that's the primary reason for using it.
For my second question, I've asked, do the downsides balance out to the good sides of 1080?
Through the downsides of 1080 use in New Zealand is mostly the risks to non-target species. There is no antidote for poisoning with 1080, so any non-target animals or humans that accidentally eat or swallow this poison is in for an agonisingly painful death. Any application that enters the wrong areas, like water, can pose significant risks to the non-target species I mentioned before. So, yeah, that's what I think the major downsides are.
Here is another response that I've got for the same question.
I've said there are plenty of downsides to using it. It's obviously not selective in what it kills. You know, it can obviously kill, you know, deer, family pets. Obviously it does kill those target species as well, but yeah, so it's just not selective, so it's, yeah, anything that consumes it, you know, will die from it essentially, and by all accounts I don't think it is a particularly nice way to go. And then you know, there have certainly been cases of, you know, of the native species, native birds and things dying from consuming it as well. So yeah, I suppose whether or not it's the good outweighs the bad, it's a hard one to say, I suppose. I mean, I think we probably do need it in extreme cases where, you know, the pest population is through the roof and we're you know, struggling to control things, but I don't know, in my opinion anyway, we probably do overuse it a bit. I think New Zealand is, you know, it does use it the most out of any country in the world, so it does seem a bit excessive in that sense. And I mean, obviously we've got other ways and means of you know, controlling pests and things as well, aside from just going in blanketed poisoning areas. So yeah, it's definitely got its good, it's got its bad. I think in certain cases it definitely needs to be used, but whether we need to use it on as wide a scale as what we do, personally I think we probably don't need to, particularly from a hunting perspective anyway. yeah, it's certainly kills out a lot of deer. You go into these areas and yeah, they can be devoid of a lot of the wildlife after a drop, really. So.
Good afternoon. My name is Thomas Masakin, and I'm coming live from the Christ College Newsroom. Over the length of this term, I have been investigating the university application process of Christ College's first batch of diploma graduates. Students have shared whether or not their achievement has impacted their acceptance, or if universities are even aware of this award system, while Ms. Nicole Belante addresses some of the aims of the diploma in regards to this.
In 2022, Christ College officially replaced NCA Level 1 with a diploma system of its own. Officially 2 years have passed since then, and the first batch of diploma graduates are now trying to make it into universities. From the beginning, there has been a question whether or not the diploma is worth completing as a qualification. Deputy Principal Ms. Belante had this to say when asked, was the diploma intended to endorse university applications?
I would say that I certainly hope that as time goes on and it becomes more well known and more well recognized, that it would be something that students could put on their CV and could be used as an endorsement. And I can say, for example, it is actually getting quite a good recognition within the education world, because when I was up north speaking to the school that I'm going to, they knew what the diploma was. They knew about it. So I think give it, a few years and it will definitely be something that has value to put on your CV.
Year 13 students Rahal Patarana and Zinzan Bondarenko Letua, who won the award for top achiever in the diploma, said this about whether the diploma could be used to endorse university applications.
Diploma made me, to achieve academic honours, you have to do so many different things, and that's the kind of stuff that the unis are looking for with scholarships, not necessarily just academics. They're looking for like tree climbing, like coaching a basketball team, that kind of stuff. So I feel like, the want or the like desire to have the top diploma not forces but makes people or students like do extra things, which are really helpful for the academic, or for the scholarship applications and uni applications.
Yeah, it's fair point from both sides. You'd use it, but and
obviously I would get the top diploma.
Yeah, but then I also want to, because I just think.
But there is this part where it's new and skills don't know.
Yeah, it's that whole just ambiguous to explain, but also if properly explained, then yes, it is a really cool thing to kind of say that you've done all these things.
Next, they were asked whether the effect of the diploma on university is equivalent to the effort boys put into completing it. Ms. Belante said this.
Yeah, I think its worth is definitely within our community and within the business community that knows about Christ College, etc. I don't think it was ever designed to be equivalent of some sort of qualification or on the same level as the Duke of Edinburgh, because ultimately by doing that, you are trying to say that this is a nationwide standard and we really want this to be bespoke. We want this to be servicing our community. So to try and have it a worth at that sort of level requires a whole process of going through the National Qualification Authority, etc., which I actually think would devalue the specialness of what we're trying to create in some ways. We really do want it to be unique to college and to be an experience that college students get.
This is what Zinzan and Rahal said.
I think I'd put a lot of work into this diploma. Will I get the same results even from getting top diploma award? Like, in terms of recognition? I don't think so.
Well, in the context of uni though,
exactly.
I feel like the effort doesn't get rewarded instantly, but maybe later on with uni applications.
Yeah,
like
if
that kind of effort would.
If maybe the stuff you did in year 11 built a foundation for the stuff you continue to do, then it's like.
And if you also consider being rewarded, it depends on what you consider being rewarded. Also help me become a prefect, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so it's like, in terms of the diploma itself and the work I've done for it, compared to its sole recognition, I would say no.
But that's because it doesn't also have any value because it was the first year.
Yeah, but still. I've talked to some boys who I know put a lot of work into it, and already talking to some people about university recognition, they're a bit like, But of course you don't have to, with the universities, I guess, you don't have to spin it as just a diploma. You can instead list all the stuff you did inside of it. So I guess, in a way, the stuff that we had to do as its own individual things, but under this kind of cover of the diploma, was actually really good in that sense. So kind of getting us to do all these, like being an all-rounded student, was actually probably the more helpful part, even if it's under a new kind of term.
Miss Blante said that the diploma should be something that comes to the attention of employers in university, but it might take a few more years.
Yeah, I think, as I sort of said before, I think with time it will be. I think, you have to consider how many parents, for example, are connected to this community, and they are employers, and that sort of information does travel. And I think within Christchurch in particular, it will be something that does get heightened awareness. I mean, and we've had national media on it. We're not the only school doing this sort of thing. We were one of the first, which was nice. But, last year there was a lot of media about other schools picking up their own diplomas. So I think actually the more other schools do their own sort of certifications internally, then it will become understood what is happening and what it might mean to people.
Finally, Zinzan and Rahal had this to say.
To be fair, when it comes to universities, diploma is really good if you get the chance to explain it.
Yeah.
Because it's such a new thing, if you don't, then people just they think it's just like some random thing for students. But I reckon if you get the chance to explain it, it's actually quite a cool thing to use for universities.
I do think it's better than level 1.
Yeah.
It's better than
because it also encourages that full-rounded volunteering and being more culturally accepted. And
maybe on the academic side it's a bit
yes,
preparing for externals.
But you could argue that compared to those other things, it's almost negligible.
In the terms of in the sense of uni, it's more useful in level 1.
Yeah, I'd say, especially for looking for scholarships and whatnot. When you go to unis, of course they look at your grades, but they also look at what kind of person you are.
Yeah, it's one of the things they stress. Yeah, they don't really care as much as they can.
It seems that the diploma is a good qualification, which only needs time to grow and reach more people. This was Thomas Vasakin on the Christ College Newsroom.
Hello everyone, I'm Ollie Innes from Christ College Newsroom, and I've done an investigation on the new sports venue, Parakura in town.
It is a massive sports centre that will have a 50-metre, 10-lane competition swimming pool and a separate diving pool. Large aquatic area, 5 hydro slides, fitness spaces, and 9 indoor courts for sports such as netball, volleyball, and basketball.
The venue is planned to be finished next year, 9 years later than planned. It also has cost $484 million, more than what both companies decided on in the beginning, bringing the total cost of the centre to $696 million. The centre is more accessible to people using public transport like buses around town. Seeing as the majority of people that will be using the centre are teens or younger, this makes it easier, as most people that age can't drive anyway. We asked Marcus Luke, who is a 14-year-old boy who will use the centre when it opens, if he thinks this is a positive or negative thing.
I think that's a good idea because a lot of people under the age of 20 take buses into town, and like big friend groups, like teenagers at high school, would find it easier to get into the pools with their friends.
On the other hand, people are saying that only a small amount of people will actually bus there, and maybe making a bigger car park would have been a better option.
I think there'll be a small amount of people that will bus there, but they would have bussed anywhere anyway. Christchurch people just drive around. We're used to driving. That's the way it is.
Where they have built the sports centre is also very controversial, as it is right beside the hospital where there is already no parking. They wanted the centre in or close to the CBD, but maybe there was a better option available where the centre could have been built.
I think parking in that area is going to be a real challenge. There's got a hospital right there, which takes up a huge amount of parks. It will be good for some people, but I think Christchurch residents are happy to drive anywhere.
They also built the centre on top of a spring and liquefiable land, which was a massive mistake, as this is why it keeps on sinking. This is a massive problem and the main reason why it has costed so much and has taken so long to be built.
So $696 million is absolutely ridiculous, and Christchurch ratepayers will be paying for this for years.
Another commonly asked question is, how did the centre even cost this much money in the first place? Well, the main problem is that the centre keeps on sinking, causing the pool to shrink in length. The main reason for having this pool was to have a full-length pool that can be raced in. This bad decision of where to build the pool has been the main reason why the company has had to keep asking for more money, as well as delaying the time of which the centre will be completed.
They should have built it out at Napunawai or somewhere out west of Christchurch where the land is much better.
This massive problem of the amount of time and money being put into the centre will be putting a lot of pressure on the Christchurch City Council, as they never planned for it to cost this much. I asked a Christchurch man who would like to remain anonymous if he thinks this is fair on Christchurch City residents. He said, and I quote, "It is definitely fair. You choose to live in a city or a district and you have to abide by the rules. Yes, they could have been a lot more efficient when building the centre, but when you choose to live here, you have to do what they say, because otherwise nothing would get done." The company that the council agreed on a contract with is not a New Zealand company, and this has infuriated some New Zealanders very much. Here's what Richard has to say on the matter.
The council should have done their homework on this company, as they have ripped off other councils, and what they are doing is wrong on so many levels. I don't know if it was legal or not, as it depends on what the council's agreed to, but for it to be in the courts right now, obviously someone disagrees with what was initially agreed.
This is all the information that we have about Parakōrori so far. Hopefully there are no further delays so it can start generating income instead of costing millions. I'm sure Christchurch residents are very excited to use the extremely expensive sports centre when it opens.